So, picture this. It is 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, never a good time for a story to start.
Right. The fire alarm is just screaming. The apartment is quickly filling up with this thick, acrid, black smoke.
Oh boy.
And inside the oven, there is this cascading, oozing waterfall of melted plastic Tupperware.
A total nightmare.
Exactly. But the crazy part is, this isn't just your standard kitchen disaster.
Right.
This spectacular mess is actually the exact moment the modern canine nutrition movement really found its footing.
It's the ultimate collision of really high intentions and just terrible execution.
Completely.
And honestly, it perfectly encapsulates the profound anxiety driving how we care for our animals today.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are exploring this massive cultural rebellion against the convenience of the kibble bag.
And we are looking at it through a very specific lens.
Right. Author, blogger, and dedicated pawrent, KJ.
Yes.
She has this massive, highly anticipated hardcover cookbook coming out on January 1st, 2026 through Leela Publications.
It's called Cooking for Your Pup.
Yeah, and it is already dominating the international pre-order charts. It's making huge waves on Amazon specifically.
It really represents a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
In how we feed the animals in our homes.
We have a really rich stack of primary sources to pull from today to understand this whole phenomenon.
Definitely. We're looking at the comprehensive Amazon book listings for Cooking for Your Pup.
Plus deep personal entries from her long-running blog, Kay's Odyssey.
And we also have actual transcripts from our audio show, the Pawrenting Company podcast.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand why a 1.6-pound, heavily researched guide on canine nutrition is currently taking over Amazon.
Which is heavy for a cookbook.
Right. We have to rewind to that melted plastic. We have to go back to that 2 a.m. origin story.
Which she details perfectly in her podcast transcripts.
She does. She describes standing in a pet store aisle in the middle of the night, completely paralyzed by the paradox of choice.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, she's staring at this monolithic wall of grain-free formulas, raw ancestral blends, freeze-dried nuggets.
Synthetic vitamin profiles, all of it.
Exactly. She hits this total wall of decision fatigue, and she just decides, you know what? I am going to take back control. I am going to cook for my dog.
Which is a direct response to an industrialized food system that has become, frankly, totally opaque to the average consumer.
Yeah, you look at the back of a bag.
It reads like a chemistry textbook.
It really does.
So her reaction to step away from that and reclaim the process, it's incredibly common right now.
The intention is great, but the execution, that is where the smoke alarm comes in.
The Tupperware incident.
Right. She goes home, overflowing with this new resolve to be a master chef for her dog. She turns on the oven to preheat it.
Completely forgetting that she stores things in there.
Like many people who don't bake, she used her oven as a storage cabinet for plastic food containers.
Which is a brilliant, albeit toxic, metaphor for the learning curve we were talking about today.
So the plastic melts, the alarm blares, and she is left staring at this toxic puddle.
Yeah.
Now, I have to push back on this entire premise right out of the gate.
Okay, let's hear it.
If stepping away from the kibble bag is this chaotic, and if it literally results in setting off fire alarms,
right,
why not just open a can and be done with it? I mean, we have spent the last 70 years perfecting the convenience of commercial pet food.
That's the billion-dollar question.
If the ultimate goal is just bonding with the animal, can't I just feed them dry kibble in 30 seconds and then spend 20 minutes playing fetch?
You'd think so.
Why does the food have to be the bonding mechanism?
What's fascinating here is that the answer to your question is the actual foundational philosophy of cooking for your pup.
Really?
Yeah. When you read her blog posts dissecting that exact night, you see a profound psychological pivot.
Okay.
She realized that feeding an animal is not a chore to be optimized. For a canine, which is fundamentally a pack animal driven by resource allocation.
Right. Survival.
Exactly. The provision of food is the ultimate display of security and attachment. Fetch is play, but food is survival.
Ah, I see.
When you transition from tearing open a paper sack to actively chopping, preparing, and serving a meal, you are engaging in a primal ritual.
That makes sense.
The dog doesn't care if the meal is perfectly plated. They care about the time, the scent of the preparation, and the focused attention of their human.
I mean, I struggle with that a little only because it sounds highly romanticized.
Sure.
But you are saying the actual biological pack mechanics of the dog respond differently to the process of being fed, not just the calories themselves.
Precisely. It shifts the dynamic from a passive transaction to an active connection.
Wow.
And that realization that a gooey plastic mess was a failed but worthy attempt at connection gave her the grace to actually sit down and figure out the hard science of canine nutrition.
Because intention isn't enough.
Exactly. She realized she needed a blueprint.
And that blueprint became the book. So let's transition from the philosophy to the actual mechanics here.
Let's do it.
Because looking at the Amazon listings for Cooking for Your Pup, this is not a lightweight pamphlet of cute dog treats. It's not at all.
This is a 1.6-pound textbook. The listings emphasize that it uses diet for holistic health management,
Yes.
specifically targeting modern issues like digestive sensitivities and chronic skin conditions.
Right.
But, holistic is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around so much it almost loses its meaning.
It really does.
How is she defining holistic in the context of canine nutrition?
Well, in her framework, holistic means recognizing the absolute interconnectedness of the body's systems.
Okay.
Specifically, the gut-skin axis.
The gut-skin axis.
Yeah. A lot of dog owners see their animal constantly scratching, developing hot spots, or losing fur, and they treat it as a topical skin problem.
Right. They buy expensive shampoos or topical creams.
Exactly. But Kay's research in the book flips that. She argues that chronic skin issues are almost always an inflammation problem starting in the gastrointestinal tract.
So the itching is just the alarm bell for the gut.
Yes. And commercial kibble is manufactured through a process called high-heat extrusion.
Extrusion, okay. This process creates advanced glycation end products, or AGs.
Which are bad.
They are essentially inflammatory compounds. When a dog consumes these daily for years, it can lead to systemic inflammation and a compromised intestinal lining.
Which we often call leaky gut.
Right. So the book's holistic approach is about removing those high-heat processed inflammatory triggers.
And replacing them with what?
Highly digestible, fresh proteins to heal the gut lining, which in turn resolves the skin condition.
That makes total biological sense. If the factory's broken, the product, in this case, the skin and coat, is going to be flawed.
Exactly.
But that brings us to the most radioactive debate in the entire dog ownership world,
Oh, here we go.
which her book directly tackles: raw versus cooked diets.
Yes, it is intense.
If you spend any time on a canine nutrition forum, it is a bloodbath of conflicting opinions.
It is highly polarized.
It really is.
The biological argument for the raw diet, which Kay navigates very carefully, by the way, centers on ancestral physiology.
Meaning what they ate in the wild.
Right. Raw meat preserves heat-sensitive amino acids like taurine, as well as natural intracellular moisture and digestive enzymes.
And those get destroyed by cooking.
Completely obliterated during the cooking process.
Yeah.
The raw advocates argue that dogs have highly acidic stomachs designed to handle bacterial loads that would put a human in the hospital.
But the flip side is the pathogen risk, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, we are bringing these ingredients into our own kitchens, onto our own cutting boards.
And that is the core of the cooked diet argument. It focuses on pathogen safety.
Salmonella and E. coli.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just for the dog, but for the humans handling the food in the bowl.
Right.
Furthermore, gentle cooking actually increases the bioavailability of certain vegetables and makes specific proteins easier to digest for dogs with already compromised GI tracts.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. What makes Cooking for Your Pup so effective, according to the sources, is that she refuses to be militant about either side.
That's refreshing.
She provides safe sourcing guidelines for raw feeding, but also offers gently cooked alternatives.
And she even provides guidance on how to balance homemade fresh meals with high-quality kibble. I find that fascinating.
It's very realistic.
Yeah, she isn't saying, throw away the bag entirely or you're a bad owner.
No.
She recognizes the modern reality that sometimes you are traveling or you have a crazy work week and you just need the convenience of dry food.
Right.
But you can elevate that dry food with fresh components.
It is an incredibly pragmatic approach, which is likely why the book is resonating so strongly on Amazon pre-orders.
Definitely.
But she is also very clear about the hazards. In her podcast, she outlines 3 specific beginner mistakes that she learned the hard way.
Let's go through those.
The first is overcomplicating the recipes.
Oh.
Beginners tend to project human nutritional variety onto their dogs.
Oh, sure.
They think the animal needs 20 different exotic ingredients in a single bowl to be healthy.
I see that all the time on social media. People are adding quail eggs, 3 types of powdered mushrooms, kefir, blueberries, and venison to one bowl.
Yes.
It looks like a 5-star tasting menu.
And biologically, it is a disaster for a beginner dog.
Really?
Kay argues that a few highly bioavailable clean components are far better than a chaotic mix of 20 unfamiliar items.
So keep it simple.
Exactly. A dog's digestive system thrives on simplicity and consistency, not novelty.
Which feeds right into her second warning, ignoring the actual quality of the core ingredients.
This is a big one.
It is very easy to fall for the marketing trap of looking at a label that says made with real beef without interrogating what that actually means.
Because the quality of the protein dictates its bioavailability. Is it heavily preserved? Is it sourced from diseased animals?
Right.
Kay's book teaches readers how to source clean, single-ingredient proteins rather than getting distracted by flashy, multi-ingredient labels.
Labels that mask low-quality meat meals.
Exactly.
But her third warning is the one that I think trips up almost everyone who tries to do this.
The transition speed.
Yes, changing the diet too quickly. I have to ask about this because it feels totally counterintuitive. Well, if kibble is a highly processed, inflammatory food, and fresh-cooked chicken is a clean, whole food,
Right.
why does handing a dog a bowl of fresh, clean food result in severe digestive rebellion?
It's a great question.
You see dogs eat literal garbage off the street and be fine, but you give them a piece of boiled chicken and it's a disaster. Why?
It comes down to understanding the canine gut microbiome as a highly specialized manufacturing factory.
Okay, a factory.
If a dog has eaten the exact same dry, extruded, carbohydrate-heavy kibble for 3 straight years, their gut has optimized its machinery exclusively for that single product.
Wow.
It has literally stopped producing the diverse range of enzymes and microbial populations required to break down complex fresh proteins or fats.
So the factory's basically laid off all the workers who know how to process fresh meat.
That is exactly it. When you suddenly dump a high-quality fresh chicken breast into that factory, the machinery jams.
Oh, man.
The system cannot process it, resulting in severe gastrointestinal distress.
That makes so much sense.
So the transition phase that Kay outlines isn't just about the dog getting used to the taste. It is a biological protocol for slowly regrowing an ancestral enzyme profile.
And repopulating the gut flora.
Yes, it requires meticulous, gradual introduction.
So, hearing all of the complex biology behind this, if you are looking at your dog's bowl right now, wondering if you have what it takes to actually do this,
It can be overwhelming.
what is the entry point? How do you participate in this without causing a factory shutdown in your dog's stomach and without setting your kitchen on fire?
The relief here is found in a concept Kay calls quick wins.
Quick wins.
The sources highlight that you do not need to overhaul the entire diet on a Tuesday night.
That's a relief.
The safest, most effective first step is to simply introduce a tiny, fresh variable into their existing, highly stable routine.
Give me a concrete example from the book.
A single spoonful of plain, unseasoned, lightly cooked vegetables,
Like what?
like mashed carrots or green beans, mixed directly into their normal portion of kibble. Or even a small amount of plain boiled rice.
Just a little bit.
Right. You rely on the stability of their current diet to carry the digestive load, while introducing just enough of the new enzyme requirement to start waking up that gut machinery.
And you just do that consistently.
Day after day. It builds confidence for the human, and it safely rebuilds the microbiome for the dog.
You know, boiling that single carrot actually reveals the broader narrative here.
What do you mean?
Because the moment you decide to step away from the absolute convenience of the kibble bag, even just to add a carrot, you are no longer just feeding a pet.
Right.
You are participating in a massive cultural shift that Kay refers to as the pawrenting movement.
It is a phenomenal reframing of the relationship.
It really is.
We are transitioning from the concept of pet ownership, which implies property and maintenance, to caregiving.
And the economic data absolutely supports this shift.
Oh, big time.
We have a source here from the Southeast Examiner, a regional newspaper, that recently published data highlighting a massive, widespread boom in commercially available fresh pet foods. You look at companies like The Farmer's Dog or Freshpet taking over grocery store aisles.
It's everywhere now.
That proves that everyday consumers are actively rebelling against highly processed convenience foods. And they aren't just doing it for their own diets.
No, they are projecting that demand for whole foods onto the animals living in their homes.
Right.
It is a direct rebellion against the industrialization of our pantries. You know, the origin of commercial kibble is actually deeply rooted in World War II rationing.
Wait, really? World War II?
Yeah, metal was needed for the war effort, so canned wet dog food was banned.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Companies had to figure out how to create a shelf-stable, dry product that could be packaged in paper and shipped in bulk.
So it was just a logistical fix?
It was born entirely out of industrial convenience and mass production, not optimal canine biology.
That is mind-blowing.
So what the parenting movement signifies is a collective realization that you cannot divorce physical health from the quality of the raw materials consumed.
For KJ, though, this wasn't just some abstract economic or biological theory.
No, it was very personal.
Her drive to write this book comes from a very specific, intense emotional core. And that core is her rescue dog, Sally.
The Belgian Malinois.
Yes, and the journey to even get Sally is a story in itself.
It's wild.
In her podcast, she details driving all the way from Wisconsin to California just to adopt this dog.
That's a huge drive.
She talks about the chaos of the road trip, the disasters in hotel rooms, the overwhelming reality of bringing a deeply intense, intelligent animal into her life.
Malinois are no joke.
They aren't. But it was precisely the weight of that responsibility that triggered her deep dive into nutrition.
Right.
She looked at this animal that she had upended her life to rescue and realized she owed it the absolute best biological foundation possible.
And that intense emotional resonance is the secret engine behind the success of cooking for your pup.
Absolutely.
The book is a nutritional guide, sure, but it reads like a shared emotional experience.
You can see this vividly in the community testimonials that have surfaced around her platform.
There is a fantastic story from the sources about a reader named Emma C. up in Toronto.
Yes, Emma's story. It perfectly captures the philosophy.
It does.
She wrote about her experience cooking recipes from Kay's blog for her own rescue dog, Bear.
Yeah.
She paints this incredible picture of a brutal, cold, snowy winter night in Toronto. They would go out for these freezing walks in this hyper-modern concrete city.
Right.
And then they would come back into the apartment out of the cold, and Emma would spend an hour in the warmth of her kitchen intentionally chopping vegetables and preparing a warm meal for this animal.
It is such a stark contrast.
It is.
The freezing, fast-paced convenience of the modern city outside versus the slow, ancient, warm act of preparing food for a predator inside.
It's beautiful.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, this is why a 1.6-pound hardcover book about dog food is moving units globally on Amazon. We exist in a society that is almost aggressively optimized for convenience. Algorithms dictate our entertainment. Applications deliver our human groceries in 15 minutes.
Everything is instant.
And we have historically utilized bags of dry, extruded pellets to sustain our closest animal companions.
Right.
Choosing to ignore all of that efficiency, choosing to stand at a cutting board, measure out fresh proteins, and cook for an animal is a deliberate act of slowing down.
Yeah, it's intentional.
It is an intentional choice to prioritize connection over convenience.
So what does this all mean?
It means we are fundamentally renegotiating our social contract with the animals we bring into our homes.
If you are listening to this right now and you are staring at your dog's bowl, wondering if you should try adding some rice or a boiled green bean, the takeaway here is incredibly liberating.
It really is.
Even if you don't own a dog, but you are fascinated by how human beings choose to express love in a hyper-industrialized world, the message of Kay's journey is that caregiving is about presence, not perfection.
Perfectly said.
The dog doesn't care if the carrots are julienned perfectly. The dog cares that you showed up, that you engaged in the ritual, even if your first attempt literally melts the Tupperware and sets off the smoke alarm.
This raises an important question, though, one that has massive implications extending far beyond a single kitchen in California or a snowy apartment in Toronto.
Okay, what is it?
As this parenting movement accelerates, and as a critical mass of everyday people take on the responsibility of sourcing and cooking fresh, holistic meals for their dogs, how is this going to reshape the multi-billion-dollar commercial pet food industry?
I mean, it is an existential threat to the legacy brands.
Exactly.
If the standard metric of love and care in a household becomes the provision of a fresh, home-cooked meal, or at the very least, a diet anchored in whole, recognizable ingredients, will the traditional bag of highly processed kibble eventually become obsolete?
Will we look back in 50 years with a better understanding of the microbiome and systemic inflammation and find it completely bizarre that we convinced ourselves it was optimal to feed our closest companions an extruded, shelf-stable dry pellet for their entire lives?
It is a massive disruption to an entrenched industry, and it is being driven entirely by a desire for connection, a willingness to learn the biology, and occasionally a melted plastic container.
And it all goes back to that 2 a.m. moment.
Standing in the kitchen, completely overwhelmed by the science, but choosing to try anyway. The final meal might not look like a culinary masterpiece, but to the animal sitting at your feet, watching you work, it is the most important thing in the world.
Because you made it.